Alright, so I'm gonna be ranking all win conditions in Clash Royale. I'm ranking them on how versatile they are, how well they work alone with support units, and in general, just like how strong they are. Just like if it's guaranteed damage, if it's like, you can use it in a lot of decks. You can just put it in something. You can put it at the bridge. You have to build it. I don't know. But we're like just all those factors, are gonna add into this. Balloon, very weak on its own. With, let's say, a miner or lava hound or something else with it, even an ice golem or knight in front of it is really, really strong. A lot of people struggle to get rid of it when there's already a tank because they have to play something, but it's consistent. It's a consistent thing. Even if it doesn't make it to the tower, that death damage is usually what does the bulk of your damage when you get higher up in trophies. Bandit, also the same way. 3 elixir, cheap, just put it at the bridge, also can defend. That's one thing I think the is a little bit different with the bandit. I wouldn't count it as a win condition, but it definitely can be used for that. So I would say consistent. Battle Ram, it's for a win condition under average because it is so easily stopped with Ewiz, skeletons, minions. There's so many things that stop the win condition part of it, but as a card in general, it is super, super strong. And you can kite units, you can play it in the back if you just need it. You can play it on defense, you can play it on offense. It's very versatile. So I would also say, as a win condition, highly viable. But as a no, no, as a win condition, under average. As a card, highly viable. So I'll put it as consistent. E-barbs, highly viable, simply because they're such a strong tank killer that I feel works really well. You could just put them at the bridge, hold a zap out, wait for something if they're gonna play like Skarmy, and you just play it, boom, easy. Giant, under average. I feel like it just doesn't. There's other cards that do similar, like Royal Giant, that are just way better. Yeah, it's pretty tanky for 5 elixir, but I just feel it doesn't work on its own at all. And it works with Sparky pretty well, but Goblin Giant Sparky also works really well, and Goblin Giant's way better. Yeah, it's just it's just slightly under average. Goblin Barrel, by its honestly consistent. It's really, really good, and it can just get you some quick damage. Unless they're running triple spell, then you're gonna struggle. Then you're gonna struggle. But other than that, you'll be okay. Um, Goblin Giant, I would say under average. He just isn't as strong as you might think. He's a little bit weak, a little bit able to be countered. He just only works with Sparky alone. Not that strong. Sparky carries. Golem meta. The death damage gets rid of so much. The death damage on the tower is so strong. The amount of HP it has for 8 is like terrible. You're just asking to die. Graveyard, highly viable. One of the greatest additions. There's no E-Giant, but E-Giant is definitely meta. Um, like if I did have a card, I didn't realize there's no the that isn't here. But E-Giant is definitely top tier. Goblin Drill is not here either, but Goblin Drill would be under average because it got nerfed. That it just doesn't do as much damage anymore. But that's where I would put those, like, yeah, that's what we'll just say. But Graveyard almost always gets a couple hits, good damage, works really well with any sort of tank, even on its own. People have to play something on it. It's just too tough. Hog Rider, meta. Alright, you can play it at the bridge, play with the tank, play it however you like. Even bad Hog Rider players can still get a hit. Makes no sense on why it works, but it just does. And it's kind of dumb. Well, it's not kind of. It's really dumb how a terrible Hog player can still beat down your tower slowly by just spamming Hog. Um, oops. Lava Hound consistent, just does what it's supposed to. Does terrible damage when it's in its main form. Well, not terrible, but like not very much. Needs support units, but if it bursts and you like got a mine or something small, it can do really well. With balloon, oh, it's tough. It's tough. Mortar, I'll do miner. Miner's a failure. Alone does like the least damage. I think like a skeleton technically does more, but a skeleton will die. But like it does no damage that people can literally sack it sometimes. They just like you're just down 3 elixir and they counter push if you're risking beatdown. That's a little risky. Not a very good one. Mortar, under average. It's very good in the right hands, but if they're a good player, they would be good with anything, honestly. Ram Rider, I think is meta. One of the best, like good counter push potential, good kind of like switch the pressure from like on defense to switch to offense so they have to defend with lack of elixir. Really good. And the charge makes them attack pretty fast. Rocket, highly viable, but it's really annoying when someone rocket cycles your tower. Kind of dumb, but whatever. Royal Ghost consistent, does what it's supposed to, doesn't do anything crazy. You know, fair enough. Royal Giant, easily one of the best win conditions. Played at the bridge. If you have the right cards to work with it for Zap, for their Skarmy or whatever, or Bats, you just play around their deck. You can plop this in the back, build up a good push, play it at the front. If you take a tower, play it in the pocket. You can honestly just spam it. Counters Expo, which is a really like annoying card to fight, and it's really good. Hogs, highly viable. In most decks, they like work pretty well. You can split them, and then there's 2.5 elixir on each side technically, and it's pretty tough to counter 4 pigs for 5 elixir without getting any damage. Skelly Barrel, on its own, can't be left alone, but most people let it drop damage and just kill the skeletons. Pretty good. Three Musketeers, I'm gonna do first. Failure. It's good in 1 or 2 decks, but I wish it was better. I wish it was. It's a good card, like in theory. 3 Musketeers for 9 instead of 12 technically, because that's if you got normal. But still, for 9 elixir, you could counter it with a Fireball Log on one side, Royal Ghost on the other. Whatever. You could even counter it for less. I don't know. Like it's just not that strong. All right. Uh. Sparky, highly viable. Put in a lot of decks. That's your tank killer. That's your scary kind of if it gets to the tower, it's just gone. Um, I would say wall breakers are under average. That may be a hot take because they're consistent, but they get like I don't know. I feel like they get countered too hard unless you're playing with max cards. Only one of them's ever gonna connect. And you can't do that stupid split strat where people have like no elixir to defend. Works in a couple decks, but honestly, it's not that great. Expo. Consistent. But a little annoying. I don't know why it works so well sometimes, but it just does. Can't really like force it or whatever, but I feel it's a good card. It's consistent. Can be countered. 6 elixir. It's good. So that's my rating. You guys can, well, probably disagree. I don't know. Whatever you guys think. It's probably different than mine, but yeah. Here's my ranking. E-Giant is meta and Goblin Drill is under average. They're not here, but that's where I'd put those.